Well, the Ministry of Education aims at digitalizing the teaching system for quality education. We have the story in our bulletin today. Welcome to TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura. Fast to the headline. Kanungu leaders call for a crisis meeting over the death of lions. The Ministry of Education and Sports aims at digitalizing the teaching system. Opposition leader dies of COVID-19 complications. Mazembe's Ochoa and 3 stars boost Uganda for Burkina Faso and Malawi ahead of AFCON qualifiers. Well, let's have the news in detail. The Assistant General Commissioner from the Ministry of Education and Sports, Mr. Jonathan Kamurana, addressed journalists at the Uganda Media Center about the 3rd National Teachers Symposium, which is to take place on the 24th of March this year at Silver Springs Hotel in Kampala. This year's theme is a digital competent teacher for the 21st century. We have the report.
The purpose for this symposium is to provide a platform for our teacher educators and stakeholders to share ideas and development measures to fast-track digitalizing a teacher for, on, and at campus. It will be under the theme of a digital competent teacher for the 21st century. The Assistant General Commissioner from the Ministry of Education and Sports, Mr. Jonathan Kamurana, has said the government has addressed almost all the issues that were raised in the last symposium. These include launching the National Teachers Policy on 5th October last year, opening up the teachers' online registration, and renovating teachers' colleges, among others. The government will use this platform to hear again from the teachers in regards for preparing and planning digitalized teaching systems in Uganda.
Following the death of 6 climbing lions in the Queen Elizabeth National Park, security and Uganda Wildlife Authority officials have organized a meeting with the local leaders in order to deliberate on measures to safeguard wildlife. The lions were found dead on Friday evening, about 500 meters on River Ishansha, on the boundary of Uganda and DR Congo. The Kanungu Deputy Resident District Commissioner, Mr. Gad Rugaju Ahimbisiwe, said they suspect that poison could have been used to kill the young female climbing lions. Their heads, feet, tails, hearts and livers were cut off and taken. Mr. Rugaju added that 10 vultures that fed on the carcasses died at the same spot. Mr. Rugaju urged all residents to stop killing the wild animals because they benefit the country through tourism. He said they are going for a meeting on Tuesday with local leaders from the sub-counties of Nyanga and Kihihi and Uwa staff to look into this matter and see how to safeguard the wildlife. Kanungu District Security Committee has started investigation to establish how poachers managed to enter the very well protected area unnoticed. Samples have been extracted from the carcasses of both lions and vultures by doctors and taken to Kampala for further examination. Reporting for TV Africa News, Nahawe Kajura. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, the Forum for Democratic Change Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Harriet Kaija, has pleaded to all security agencies to address issues of unlawful acts which include theft, robbery and unnecessary killings of the innocent civilians that are going on in the country, especially in urban areas. This in his address to journalists at the party headquarters in Najanakumbi. Let's have more.
Mr. Kaija said many citizens have lost their lives and property in theft and robbery, yet security agencies are just watching. On the issue of opposition elected members being dragged into court for election disputes, Mr. Kaija said FDC is not surprised to see that happening, and he cautioned members on being bribed by President Museveni. Over 10 opposition elected members have been dragged to court opposing their win in the concluded elections, including Honorable Judith Nawakoba against senior journalist Joyce Bagala and others.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter Nalugu. Now, dozens of people from Tungamo who claim to have paid money to carry out various farming activities on President Museveni's farm in Omukondo, Nyaburinza Parish, Nyarutuntu Sub-County, have stormed the office of Ntungamo District Resident Commissioner, Mr. George Bekunda, after being stopped from using the land. We have the report.
The farmers say that for the last 3 years, they have been paying the farm manager, Mr. Augustine Murangira, to till the land. Mr. James Gumisiriza said they have been giving him 50,000 shillings to utilize every half acre. Next day, soldiers were deployed to stop them. There are over 100 families who rented the land, and farmers were told that renting the land has been suspended. Mr. Christopher Mwangizi, another affected farmer, said they should have hired our labor instead of dumping us to rent the land and be dismissed after clearing it. However, Mr. Murangira said that he was stopped by one of President Museveni's daughters from renting the land in order to expand her grapes farm. Mr. Bakunda promised the affected farmers that he would ensure through dialogue that the money they paid to rent the land is refunded and their land is paid for. This is part of the land where the family lived before migrating to Nyabushozi, Kiruhura district in the 1960s. Africa Today, Kachanchu Mutabazi reporting.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with more news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, The Right to Know. Now, the former president of Tanzania, the late John Magufuli, led prayers with doctors and his caregivers at the hospital before taking his last breath. We have more.
The family spokesperson, Ngusa Samika, said that the late Magufuli received the anointing of the Sixth Sacrament and Dua in the presence of former Dar es Salaam Archbishop Polycarp Cardinal Pengo, St. Peter's Church Parish Priest Father Alistair Makubi, and Tanzania's Chief Sheikh Abubakar Zubair. Magufuli was known for his close ties in the religious circle. He often attended Sunday prayers at St. Peter's Catholic Church whenever he was in Dar es Salaam. This is the same church where his body was taken one last time for a requiem mass. The late former president was equally close with the Muslim community, helping mobilize funds for construction of mosques and also holding dialogues with Muslims and Christian leaders. Africa Today, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
The main rival of President Denis Sassou Nguesso in Congo-Brazzaville died in a medical plane en route to France. It is confirmed that the late died of COVID-19 complications. Let's take a look at the story. Those who were the last call of Congolese opposition leader Guy-Brice Parfait Colelas to his compatriots while battling COVID-19 complications. Colelas, who was 60, died of COVID-19 complications on Sunday, his campaign manager said. The main rival of President Denis Sassou Nguesso on Sunday's presidential election died in a medical plane en route to France. Campaign manager Rodrigo Mayanda told TV Africa that the deceased was in the lead in many localities, adding that they will continue to count the ballot. The opponent had tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday afternoon. Colelas was unable to hold his last campaign meeting in Brazzaville, the Congolese political capital. A few hours before the election, the 60-year-old posted a video in which he claimed to fight against the death. A historic opponent, Mr. Colelas, emerged his year as the only real rival of the outgoing presidential Sassou Nguesso, who is 77. After 36 years in power, the latter did not hide his desire to be re-elected in the first round of polls Sunday. Election results are not expected until several days. Over the weekend, the country's interim Prime Minister Mokhtar Owan visited the town of Konna in the central region of Mali in an area regularly hit by jihadist attacks to inaugurate a new fishing port and a new military camp, which symbolized a sign of hope in this war-torn region. We have more.
While visiting the area, the interim Prime Minister, Mokhtar Owan, said in order to provide a sustainable response to crisis in the center of the country, they must materialize two principles through concrete actions. The first of the main principles of the national solidarity, which must be first response to the tragedy that is affecting the citizens in the central regions, and the national solidarity should be expressed at all levels. The Jihadists took control of Kona before the main city of Maputo 8 years down the line. The interim minister Mokita Kwane believes that the rehabilitation of the port is an indication of what will continue to be done in the region. Demba Samauka, the deputy mayor of Kona, said he has a resilient population that since 2013 has not hesitated to fend for itself, men and women alike. Kona is one of the main fishing ports in the region since the time of colonialists. Since 2015, jihadism has spread into the countryside of Central Mali.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, Burundi's Truth and Reconciliation Commission presented the results of its activities in Bururi, in the south of the East African state, where investigations, hearings, and exhumations of victims of the 1972 ethnic crisis have been going on. We have more.
President of the TRC, Pierre Clever Ndaikarie, said the TRC has verified 68 mass graves. It is only in 11 of these mass graves that they exhumed 1,455 victims of the 1972 crisis. The images of the mass graves show the unheard of the barbarity with which the victims were tortured and murdered. Meanwhile, there are mixed reactions in the Burundi over the work of the commission. Some persons have accused the commission of leaning towards one ethnic group. Tatien Sibomana, a politician in the country, shares this view with TV Africa that Ndaikarie Commission wants to make the national and international opinion believe that it is the Hutus who were killed. Burundi's Truth and Reconciliation Commission was born out of the Arusha Agreement of 2000 for peace and reconciliation in Burundi. More than 4,000 mass graves have been found in Burundi following an investigation by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission into conflicts since independence in 1962. The commission, set up in 2018 to shed light on ethnic tensions, says it has identified 142,505 victims.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, Congo-Brazzaville's 77-year-old president, Denis Sassou Nguesso, is aiming for the re-election in the first round on Sunday, where members of the civil society have expressed serious reservations about the transparency of the election. Let's take a look at the story.
President Sassou Nguesso, a candidate of the Congolese Labour Party, to mark his desire to be re-elected in the first round as in 2016 against his 6 rivals. The climate seems less heavy than 5 years ago. A few days ago, Frederick Binsmau said that the election must not be an opportunity to reawaken the old demons of division. The 56-year-old, better known as Pastor Ntumi, took up arms in the Pole region after the disputed re-election of President Sassou Nguesso in March 2016. Regular forces counterattacked in a closed-door conflict that displaced 140,000 people, according to humanitarian sources. The economic questions haunted the minds of the voters in this oil-rich country of 5 million inhabitants, which was expecting a 90% drop in its gross domestic profit with COVID-19. Even before the health crisis, the gross domestic profit per capita had plateaued to $2,276 in 2009 compared to $3,922 in 2011 during the oil boom, according to the World Bank. Faced with the impasse of all oil, Sassou Nguesso said he was putting youth and agricultural development at the heart of his campaign, calling it shameful that the country imports most of what it consumes.
Thank you so much, our reporter Najuma. Now, people in the Abidjan received the jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine with some relief on Friday after international health regulators said that the vaccine does not increase the overall incidence of blood clots. though it could not rule out a link to a small number of rare clots. We have more. Several European countries briefly suspended the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine over fears of blood clots and resumed it after the European Medicine Agency gave its green light on Thursday. While Ivory Coast did not suspend its vaccination campaign that launched at the beginning of March, doubts about the safety of the vaccine worried some of those who are ready to receive the jab. Abidjan resident Mohamed Koyet said people were concerned when countries like France decided to suspend the use of the AstraZeneca jab, but after the EMA gave the green light to it, he decided to receive it. The West African country was one of the first ones in the continent to receive the AstraZeneca vaccines through the COVAX program. President of the African Development Bank, Achinowumi Adesina, urged countries to avoid vaccine nationalism and said his organization will help the African continent get organized and produce the therapeutic drug and also the vaccine. For some developing countries, it's either the AstraZeneca vaccine or nothing they are receiving, as it is cheaper and easier to store than others. The Democratic Republic of Congo suspended the use of the AstraZeneca shot, putting its vaccination campaign on hold even before it began, as it has no doses from other pharmaceutical companies. Africa, with a population of 1.3 billion, hopes to vaccinate 60% of its people by the end of 2022. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, in a business news today, the failure of government to put in place robust risk management policies to manage losses resulting from loans hedged on foreign currencies. So Uganda lost about 1.5 billion shillings in the 2019-2020 financial year. We have more.
The details contained in the Auditor General's report for the period ended June indicated that government had to pay more than it had committed, especially for the loan that had been advanced towards implementation of the Phase 3 of the National Backbone Infrastructure Project. In this case, the report noted government had to pay an extra 516 million shillings on the National Backbone Infrastructure Project loan, in addition to 986 million on a loan that had been advanced by Exim Bank in Chinese yuan and later converted into a dollar loan. In the report, the Auditor General said there was need for government to be conscious about such loans that waive the immunity of Uganda and its assets. Finance Minister Matia Kasaija said that he instructed staff at the Ministry of Finance to take note of all the Auditor General's recommendations with the view of taking them to Cabinet to be discussed. Africa Today, Kachanchu Mutabazi reporting.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, in our sports news today, the Uganda national team has been boosted by the arrival of 4 key players ahead of the African Cup of Nations qualifiers against Burkina Faso and Malawi. The Cranes coaches summoned a total of 29 players, and 21 are already in a camp ahead of the continental qualifiers later this week. We have more.
TP Mazembe's Joseph Ochaya, as well as Moses Waiso, Alan Chambard and Leonard Mchivi, who based in Sweden, are among the foreign-based players who have already joined the team in Kampala. The interim head coach, Abdallah Mubiru, has 21 players in the camp after he summoned a total of 29 players. Ochaya was the first one to arrive and was part of the weekend training session, while the rest arrived later and took part in evening stretching and conditioning session. Captain Denis Onyango, Farouk Mia, Fahad Bayo and Bevis Mugabi are among the high-profile stars that are yet to arrive. The Cranes will face AFCON qualifiers rivals as head coach Jonathan Wakistri remains suspended. Apart from Wakistry's suspension, developments around Khalid Auju's dismissal has clouded the team's preparation. The former Gor Mahia star was dismissed for what FIFA claimed as a matter of indiscipline, through some figures, including politicians in the country, have faulted the move by the federation, however, which has apologized and wished the national team the best of success during the two qualifiers. Players yet to arrive in the camp include Denso Nyango, Mugabe Davis, Elvis Womomo, Mia Farouk, Kizito Luaga, Fahad Bayo, and Isaga Daniel. Uganda will play Burkina Faso on March 24th before facing Flames of Malawi on March 29th.
Actually, all games are crucial, but to me, I think first and foremost, the most crucial games, if all other factors remain constant, the most crucial game is against Malawi. Even if we beat Burkina Faso, then Malawi beat South Sudan, then we'll have to get a point in Malawi, at least, to be able to qualify. So, under all circumstances, the game in Malawi is very crucial and important. But however, there's a possibility of sealing it on Wednesday against Burkina Faso. So we are going to handle all games with a lot of care, but we need to get results from both games. Probably, God willing, and I pray that things turn up the way we think. Probably we can win a game against Burkina Faso. Then anything can happen in a game between Malawi and South Sudan.
Katende Chabasinga, reporting for TV Africa.
More in our sports today. Young Adelaide forward Kusini Yengi shines during Adelaide United wins over the Newcastle Jets 4-1 on Sunday to move within 3 points of leaders, the Central Coast Mariners, in the Australian Air League. We have more.
Kusini Yengi took control of the ball alone after a defensive blunder by Newcastle defender Niguel Bongard to score the opener in the 50th minute. Stephen Maok then scores to double the lead for the Reds in the 11th minute to make it 2-0 to Adelaide United. In the third yard, Yengi was fouled in the box and awarded the penalty. Craig Godwin took it and scores from the spot to make it 3-0, but Adelaide maintained a firm control of the match, though conceded a goal from the hosts. Notably, the star of the match, Kusini Yengi, would later be booked after rolling excessively across the pitch in the theatrics, trying to draw a foul. The win was Adelaide's 50th in a row and moves the Reds into second place tie on points with the Western Sydney Wanderers on 22.
Before we end our bulletin, let's have a recap of our top stories. Kanungu leaders call for a crisis meeting over the death of lions. The Ministry of Education and Sports aims at digitalizing the teaching system. Opposition leader dies of COVID-19 complications. Mazembe's Ochea and 3 stars boost Uganda for Burkina Faso and Malawi ahead of AFCON qualifiers. Well, thank you so much for watching with us. From where we started, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is still TV Africa, the right to know.
This is Africa, and that was the news.